Self-custody is, I think, one of the raging trends for 2023. The big question, though, is how much impact will it have on other sectors of the market? When you think about technology and the adoption we're seeing within NFTs, digital collectibles, all those kind of things that eventually will start to roll into some sort of self-custody solution. So we thought, hey, today let's dive into what's happening at CES a little bit, and then also get with a self-custody expert that's been working with these kinds of solutions for quite some time. So we're going to dive in deep today. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into TechPath. Let's get into it today, and I want to bring in Nick Neuman, who is the CEO of Casa, which is a self-custody solution out there, and he's attending CES. So great to have you on the show today.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Great to be here. I'm excited to talk.
Yeah, excellent. I want to get into Casa quickly, just a little bit about it. I'm going to show your website here. Obviously, you guys do a lot in the way of self-custody evolution, mostly, and has been centered around Bitcoin for quite some time. But kind of give me your elevator pitch of why use Casa versus some of the other solutions that are out there.
Yeah, so we really noticed when we created Casa back in 2018 that the options for self-custody and for helping individuals hold their own keys were just incredibly complicated. They were very much built for developers and highly technical people that were the early adopters of cryptocurrency. But we wanted to build something that really helped anybody take advantage of the benefits of holding their own keys without having to worry about losing a key, meaning you've suddenly lost all of your wealth. And so that's really what we're going for with Casa. Make it very simple, make it very safe, and reduce that anxiety when you are holding your own keys.
All right, so I have a few questions for you. We're going to get into talking about some of the trends that we're seeing coming in from CES, but I want to talk about self-custody in general. And when you think about this year, after what happened last year with all the debacles that we've seen within the marketplace, I know our channel, and we talk about this often, and we kind of almost preach it, I feel like, is self-custody is the only way. It's something that we kind of coach everybody that listens to us. I practice it, work with many of the self-custody hardware wallets, software wallets, tried everything, I feel like. Do you think this, though, is still too difficult for an average person that's not really tech-enabled to be able to function? I mean, because I can go on Coinbase, buy some Bitcoin today, and it's a pretty simple process. But now I want to move that Bitcoin over to a wallet or a hardware device. Do you feel like that is still a big challenge and threshold to entry?
I think that it's something that has come a long way from where it was back in 2017, 2018 when we first started Casa. And I think that for a lot of options out there, it is still too difficult. Now,
Yeah.
I might be biased, but I think at Casa we figured out a way to really help anybody be able to do this very simply in an approachable way. And I think it comes down to just how much value you're securing. You don't necessarily need to go super hardcore into having a hardware wallet, having your seed phrase stamped into metal and all of these different things when you're just first dipping your toe into investing in a little bit of Bitcoin or a little bit of Ether. And so that's the approach that we try to take at Casa. We've got a range of these options that help people ramp from a very simple mobile wallet on your phone that just feels like you're using Coinbase to a really high security multi-key vault. And that uses hardware wallets, but it also has our team there to help you get set up. And so that's the trick, I think. Like, people need that easy ramp into self-custody from what they're more used to, which is similar to like an exchange experience.
Yeah, I was looking at your levels, on how that works, and it's intriguing to me because we've been practicing and executing on self-custody for some time. I like the layer component of this, where you've got the multi-sig security and the email support. Those are some components that we already see kind of in play right now for your 120 a year. But then you get into some of the emergency support, client services for premium, and then actual, some onboarding packages, some hardware wallets. So I like
Yep.
that, and I get, sure, these are designed for people who are holding larger funds,
Right.
and it eventually grows up to someone that's doing something that is almost institutional grade, in essence. So I
Right.
like that because those are some options because it does give people a pathway to grow wealth and grow your stack if you're going in Bitcoin. My question to you is when you look at Casa in terms of the multiple keys concept. I want to go back to your website real quick. Let me jump back over here to your website, and I want to go down here to your section. Ex- Explain multiple key to me, because
Sure.
when I saw this, this was really kind of I'd heard it and read about it before, but I had never seen it really implemented. How does this work?
Yeah.
To me, I almost worry that this might be more risky than not if I were to have one centralized place for at least for keys. Explain how this works for you guys.
Yeah, so it's actually significantly less risky than having a single key because if you think about it, when you've got a single key protecting your funds, let's say that key is on a Ledger hardware wallet, for example. If you lose that hardware wallet, you are suddenly hoping you have that seed phrase still stored somewhere. And let me tell
Right.
you, most people are writing this down and putting it in their sock drawer or sticking it in a note on their computer that's accessible, over the internet to anybody who gets to their computer. And so you're in this panic mode all of a sudden if something happens with that hardware wallet. With
Yeah,
multiple keys protecting your funds, if you lose one key, you don't lose all your money. But
I see.
it's not just like there's more keys where people can get access. If anybody gets access to any one of these keys, they can steal your Bitcoin. The way that it works is, let's say at that base level, you've got three keys. One key is on your phone in the Casa app. One key is on a hardware wallet like a Ledger, and one key is
Hmm.
actually held by Casa for you. You need any
Okay.
two of those three keys to send funds. And so if somebody finds that hardware wallet, it's
Perfect.
useless to them without also having your phone or without also having access to that Casa key. And so that gives you that protection against theft. And in fact is better than a single key setup like a MetaMask or something like that, where if
Right.
somebody gets
Yeah.
access to that MetaMask, they're
It's
draining
over.
your board apes.
Yeah, that's it's over.
Yep.
um, okay, well, that's a good explanation. I like that in the essence of using it with, kind of spreading out the security layer there to physical,
Exactly.
mobile, and even to, kind of almost a third party trustee. That's something that,
Yeah,
I've
and
seen.
it allows people to be human,
Exactly.
basically.
Yep. Yep.
You can every human is going to make a mistake.
Makes a
We
mistake.
unfortunately haven't figured out how to avoid that in our lives, and so
Yeah, for
allowing
sure.
that as part of your security setup when you're self-custodying is critical.
Hey, I want to get into the idea of NFTs, Nick, and I hold a handful of NFTs right now on my Coinbase wallet. I do these things with Ledger and different hardware wallets. But one thing I'm starting to see, and this is something that we're catching at CES this year, is like for instance, HTC. They're launching their new mixed reality headset. It's kind of this new gateway to a metaverse for them. And the likelihood is we're going to see some sort of digital collectible, NFT, so to speak, that may involve the aspect of actually being able to purchase. So if you look at the Viveverse right here, they're using Matic. Right there, I'm just plugged right into my contract. I can go directly in. There's an opportunity here, I think, as we start to see this, especially around devices, TVs, I'll talk about in a minute, and all of that. You as an engineer and a creator of self-custody wallets, how do you guys look at this kind of explosion for potentially holding assets other than Bitcoin and Ethereum in the next couple of years? Is this going to be a major trend that we're going to see across the industry?
Yeah, I think the from a trend perspective, I think that there's a lot of excitement around NFTs right now and what they can bring even beyond just kind of the art side of
Sure.
things. And I think that there's a lot of people coming into this space and building and innovating right now. And a lot of the stuff probably isn't going to work out, but some of it will, and that will be a big step forward in the areas where we're able to, as an industry, find product market fit. And that's the key is I think we really need to be focused on building use cases around these things that are more than just speculative use
Yeah,
cases. We got to get past this casino phase of the crypto industry, and we're at CES right now
yeah.
in Las Vegas, the home of casinos. So maybe that's like cursing in the church, but I think that getting past that casino phase is important. And as we see some NFT use cases that are solving real world problems for people, that's when
Mhm.
things start to get exciting from a trend perspective.
Yeah, this is definitely the trend that we're seeing. We cover this quite a bit on the Web3 show, Metaverse Insider, and obviously we dive into it here on TechPath a lot as well, mainly because, my background is in business and tech, and understanding functional use cases for whatever business entity you've got is the most critical scenario that has to play. It's kind of like the product market fit for a startup. You've got to be able to really have a solution in play that's going to make society or at least your customer base much better. So I do think you're right, and fortunately I think we're finally getting to that phase where a lot of the scammers and the early kind of movement that we saw in the space have been pretty much washed out of the market. Now we're starting to see, I think for the first time, real companies, real potential solutions start to play into what the future might look like. If you look at Hedera, they're doing a deal with LG. They've doubled down kind of on this whole metaverse ambition component. They launched this at CES, and being able to use the Blade wallet. This is, again, getting back into to custody and using wallets for these digital assets. Further into that, if you look at just like what LG Art Lab is doing, again, supporting Blade Wallet, things of that. And when I see big companies like LG making major moves with, chains like Hedera, which is known for their massive partnerships with some of the biggest tech companies in the world, it really starts to, at least for me, kind of solidify that the market is here. It may still be infant in its size, but it's coming. And the likelihood is self-custody is going to be a big part of this in the future. Now, you guys just recently added Ethereum. Is that correct?
Yep, that's right.
So what was the thinking there? I mean, was it, because obviously ETH is one of the gateways and highways into the NFT ecosystem. Is this something that is planned for you guys in the future?
Yeah, so for sure. And the reason that we decided to expand beyond Bitcoin and into supporting Ethereum was a really simple one. And it's that our customers were demanding it. And this was
Yeah.
something that our customers have guided us on every step of the way over the last year or two. And as a startup, you have to focus, right? So that's why we started off being very focused on Bitcoin and solving a problem there. But as we've grown as a company, it's been clear that Ethereum and the Ethereum ecosystem was of real importance to our customers in terms of securing value. And so that's why we've expanded there. And that opens up some doors for us in terms of growing into supporting things like stablecoins or supporting NFTs. And all of
Mhm.
these things are value that can be secured in self-custody by private keys. And that's really the long-term vision for Casa, is that private keys will secure everything important to us in our digital lives. And
Yeah.
so we will need a way to really store those private keys and keep those keys themselves secure. And Casa is that way.
I was looking at some of the photos that were over. Let me kind of zoom in on this one right here from CES. I'll move around a little bit. Let's see if I can do it here with my Mac because it's a little move. But anyway, what I wanted to focus in on was this right here: secure your car history with NFTs. And I've talked to a handful of people who are reporting there at CES, and one thing they told me is that there is a lot of real world use case for how smart contracts are starting to be implemented into these kind of functionalities that create a lot of risk to a person if in fact you are holding an NFT now with this new kind of data set or a certain level of authenticity or a value, those kind of things. I'm thinking this need for self-custody devices and or solutions looks like, to me, it's here now. We're getting to the point where we might see this in real world here in 2023. What are you guys' plans for kind of venturing off into this area?
We're moving as quickly as we can, and we really try to make sure that we are supporting things in a way that's simple while also providing a lot of value for people. And so, as we look ahead to 2023, these things that, as like I said earlier, these things will really be guided by our customers and what our customers and what the market needs to help
Yeah.
secure the things that they value. And I think that the most exciting thing about it is you see all these different types of projects and people working on things and experimenting. And it's all possible because these blockchains like Bitcoin, like Ethereum, are very open. They're completely
Yes.
open, completely permissionless financial networks that operate globally. And that is only enabled through self custody. When we are keeping these funds or tokens on exchanges, that's really just rebuilding the old permissioned legacy financial system. Self custody is the key, pardon the pun, to actually keeping these networks permissionless. And that's what's so exciting about this and why we're
Yeah.
actually able to try so many different things across the industry.
The I would say I'm new to crypto over the past few years, and to me, this is still kind of the home run for what Bitcoin and crypto, and in general, what we've seen with decentralized assets really is about. And I'm just surprised that we haven't seen faster adoption for self-custody, both on software but also on the hardware side of things. Now, sure, Ledger had a ridiculous year last year, but I think it was more driven by fear in the
Right.
market, just from everything that was falling down around us. I want to see how it's going to grow in a market that is a little bit more subdued, more normalized, not constantly
Right.
dealing with an FTX or a Celsius, situation. What are your thoughts going
Yeah.
forward here in terms of growth?
Yeah. I think that the point you made about wondering about self custody growth and just what are the drivers of that. Today, it's or over the last few years, it's really has been driven by that need for security and a little
Right.
bit of fear in there because people want to protect the things that they store a lot of value in. And the thing with that is that gets you about half the audience, right?
Hmm.
You get a certain number of people who really take security seriously, and they are willing to take those steps to secure their assets. Then you've got this whole other group of people who they are more in this bucket of they know they need to do this thing, self custody, to secure their assets, but it's on their permanent back burner list, their permanent rainy day list. Those are the types of people that you get with use cases that only work with self custody.
Yeah.
NFTs and the kind of bull run NFT cycle in 2021 and 2022 was an example of this because you really couldn't secure NFTs with exchange accounts. And so the
Right.
people who wanted to participate in that were forced to go to self custody. And that actually introduced a huge wave of people to self custody. So as we start to see some of these use cases that go beyond just speculation and trading
Hmm.
get built, that really leverage the true decentralized nature of a blockchain like Bitcoin or like Ethereum, that's where you're going to see some really interesting new adoption from people who weren't necessarily going to do that purely from the security side of things.
Yeah, I would say that we are getting very close to possibly a spin in this technology. And I've been in the tech space for quite some time. I've had a chance to see some of the history of growth in tech, and I recognize these markers. And I feel like we are in a year right now where we're starting to see some of the key use cases start to flow out. If you look at this article, this was by CoinDesk. I know you were on a panel there, but this is going into smart TVs. And the point I wanted to make was something, this obviously is the LGO or the LG CEO talking about, but he made an interesting statement here is that smart TVs could be a possible pathway into reaching a mass audience. And again, getting back into people knowing, about self-custody, starting to learn about NFTs, digital assets, digital collectibles, whatever we want to call them out there today. There's something of value to it. I want to put it somewhere safe, and I need to have it secure in a device that, is perfect in many cases, much like what you guys are doing. So I definitely agree with you. I think
Yeah,
we
and I
are at
think
that point.
yeah, I think when you think about some of these things like smart TVs integrating NFTs or Web3 functionality, the interesting question is, are those TVs going to be the things that are actually securing the assets, or are
That would
they
be a
going to be
question.
tying in with your
Yeah,
wallet, which does that in a more secure way? I think we've
right.
seen over the last decade, all of the Internet of Things has had some security problems. And so I don't know that I would necessarily be trusting my smart TV to secure my CryptoPunk or something like that. But what's really interesting and exciting about the use of blockchains is that that TV can very easily read my address and see what NFTs are at that address without
Yeah.
having access to actually move those NFTs. And so that gives you some utility, if you want to display your art NFTs on your smart TV without having to give up that security aspect. And then you're using something like a Casa to actually secure that value in a really safe way.
Let's talk quickly about what you guys are doing for, kind of your roadmap. If you look at just the number of assets that you currently can hold within the Casa accounts and or devices, are you expanding beyond, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a handful of other assets? What's kind of your roadmap looking like for crypto assets in general?
Yeah, we've always taken the approach that there's a real value in building a very simple experience for consumers. And so we are not going to be taking the path of adding the thousands or hundreds of thousands of assets that are available in the crypto ecosystem, because it just, it's a long tail of stuff that really doesn't make sense, and the vast majority of people don't need access to. So we're really focused on building the best experience around the most important ecosystems. And the way that we figure that out is really guided by ecosystem activity, our customer demand, and the potential for security, and how well we can put our names behind security for an asset in an ecosystem. So looking ahead to this year, I think, some of the things that we're interested in learning more about and evaluating for support are things like stable coins, which seem to be really solving some problems for people around the world. Things like NFTs, where there's a lot of innovation going on and experimentation going on right now. And so making those steps there will be one way that we broaden our offering. But we're also thinking about things that just make it easier to self-custody for people.
Right.
And that's a big chunk of our roadmap this year too. And so that's where the benefit comes from focusing on supporting fewer assets, is we're actually able to spend time building a better experience around holding your keys, which is critical for adoption.
Yeah, and I think you're right. The key here, if we see the next layer of adoption, most likely it's going to occur around Bitcoin and Ethereum, possibly some NFTs that will play into this. So I would agree that that's kind of the low-hanging fruit in terms of the mass numbers that will be entering into crypto for the very first time in 2023 and 24, as we start to see a market correction. That to me is going to be a very critical time for self-custody. And whether or not we'll continue to see this, folly of exchanges and all the things that we've seen and struggled through this year. So I'm very excited to see you guys go in this direction. It's going to be interesting to watch for sure. We'll keep a good close eye on you. We're watching self-custody tools and companies all the time. So great getting a chance to catch up with you today for sure.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. It was great to talk, and we are 100% on the same page about the importance of self-custody. So here's to a good 2023.
Yeah, for sure. Nick, we're going to show you a poll from our audience. We do one of these on every show just to give you kind of an idea of how the audience responds. But let's just jump over to the poll. All right, so do you see yourself enabling a friend or family this year to self-custody their assets? A lot of people saying yes. So there you go. Perfect example of people saying,
Amazing.
yeah, we're teaching this. So that's great.
And we see that all the time where people are helping their friends and helping their family members, and the people that are on the ground really can make a difference here with growing self-custody adoption.
Yeah, for sure. Nick, it's been great having you on. Good luck out there at CES. If you catch anything on the floor that you think is just amazing, let us know. We'd love to hear back from you.
Will do. Thanks, Paul.
All right, you bet. All right, guys. I know I've got a couple of questions in. I think most of them are lined up in function of, yes, most of you guys are, when you watch our show, I know many of you hold a lot of different varieties of assets, and in most cases, you're a much more advanced user. But for someone out there that is maybe coming to our show for the very first time, and you think, okay, I'm just owning Bitcoin, or I just own Ethereum, whatever it might be for you, but it's usually a very simplistic step that you're making for, in most cases, the very first time. This is one of the things that I often try to coach a lot of people that are just getting in. Is just go right to the point of self-custody. Whether you use a hardware wallet, software wallets, that's the next best thing, or a product like Casa. But I think the key here is once you get into that cycle, you'll start to explore other tokens, other assets, other ways to do all this stuff. So there's a lot of opportunity here around self-custody. There were some really good ideas in there, I think, also in the chat. So thanks a lot for all that good stuff. If you guys are not part of our Diamond Circle, jump in. It's really easy and it's free. It's just an email that hits you a couple times a week, keeps you updated to what we're doing here on the channel and more content. And of course, if you guys want to reach me, it is out there on Twitter @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.